Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is What Would You Do? Dawnbringers, Rime of the Frostmaiden, Season 5, Episode 11. I'm already being shamed for my puns. I've been pretty shameless in the use of jokes and puns this week. If you didn't see...
Let him get you down. I got you back.
If you didn't see All That Glitters on Monday, I thought M's head was going to come off their shoulders as much as they were shaking their head back and forth. My bard, 6 days into summer, was trying to distract the goblin disguised as a human by flirting heavily with him. And I did so by Googling the 101 best pickup lines ever. And I used a lot of them.
If you haven't seen them yet, Ginny D's D&D pickup line videos.
Oh my gosh, I had totally forgotten. This was on the fly, but I definitely need to have some of those on hand for the next time. 6. You see M's face instantly change. But lucky for you, 6 is not here in Icewind Dale. We are going to get going in just a few moments. A couple of quick announcements. First of all, we are very glad to be back. Last week was a week, I'll tell you that much. And between Texas freezing over and just everything else, we took the night off. So we're going to pick back up where we left off 2 weeks ago. First off, you're going to hear me more and more talk at greater length about Jasper's Game Day. We are very excited for April 30th through, I believe it's May 10th. I think I got those days right. Is the third annual Jasper's Game Week. And this year, the week is being kicked off by a couple days of gaming and fundraising over on D&D Beyond. Then on Sunday through Thursday, we are going to have 4 games a day for 5 days from noon until 1:30 in the morning. We are going to have all kinds of D&D. Not only that, May the 4th happens to fall during Jasper's Game Week this year, and we have guaranteed at least one Star Wars game is going to be run during that day, May the 4th. So all week long, there's going to be some incredible stuff happening. And then, of course, we're going to have something in a little bit later time slot on that Thursday. And but it will be something fun, and will include most, if not all, of the Dawnbringers. And then the rest of the weekend is going to be taken over by Paizo, who will be running some gaming events on another channel. And when we go off the air every night, we've got some friends over in Australia that are going to begin streaming games on their channel, raising money for the same fundraiser, all going into the same pot. So essentially, for most of that week, it will be a 24-hour streaming event. So if you're overseas, if you're in the other hemisphere, one of the other hemispheres around the globe, wherever, we're going to have streaming going on for you, all benefiting Jasper's Game Day. If you would like to, you just can't wait and you want to donate now, you can type !Jasper in the chat. And there is a link that will allow you to go to their direct donation page and donate any amount that you want. Jasper's, of course, if you don't know, is an incredible organization dedicated to raising awareness, education, and ultimately the prevention of suicide through tabletop gaming. Another way you can help out is through Initiative Coffee Company's Help Action. Type !Coffee in the chat, and that link will take you to where you can purchase Metade roast coffee. Every 12-ounce bag of coffee that you purchase, $3 will go to benefit Jasper's Game Day. Of course, be sure to check out Talon and Claw. Type !MTD Claw in the chat. Talon Claw is our sponsor. Anthony is an incredible dude over there making all kinds of awesome stuff. Recently partnered with Devin Rue to create just gorgeous cutting boards with one of Devin Rue's maps laser engraved into the cutting board surface. Also a series of coasters with Devin Rue art and cartography etched into them. And all kinds of incredible dice accessories and everything else. Use code MTDClaw when you are there and get 10% off your order. The last thing I'm going to talk about real quick before we get into our game tonight, two things actually, because I forgot to mention it. If you look up above V or Cantriel's head, you're going to see some ice up there, domain ice. Those are our domain dice. We have 154 of those, it looks like. Domain dice is a way that you, the viewer, can participate in the stream simply by subscribing, resubscribing, gifting subs, raids, tipping $5, 500 bits cheer. Yeah, not cows. That is how they can get those dice, and they use those to re-roll any dice rolls. They can make me re-roll all the way up to a super critical, which is 5 domain dice to turn any hit into a super crit, which something tells me there may be a desire to use some of those tonight. And then finally, the last thing we're going to talk about before we get going is that it's particularly important in light of Jasper's Game Day and all the support we have over there with them, is you matter. As we mentioned, last week was a week. Seems like every week is a week. It's a struggle. Sometimes you just can't, and that's okay. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to not be okay. The important things you need to know are that you are not a critical failure, and you need to know that you matter. It doesn't matter whether you believe that or not. It's just a fact. You matter. You need to understand that. And sometimes while you're struggling, the best thing you can do is talk to somebody. But maybe you don't know where to go. Maybe you don't know who to talk to. Come here to our chat any time of day or night, whether we're streaming or not. Type !help in the chat, and all kinds of phone numbers and a text numbers and a URL will show up. And you can reach out to those depending on where in the world you are. There is a service available somewhere near you. Give them a call, send them a text message, and just say help. And trained professionals are there waiting to talk to you. Some great news I had today was that somebody I consider to be a good friend is finally getting some therapy that they've known they've needed for a long time. And already they feel better knowing that they've got somebody to talk to. Best decision I made was finding a therapist to talk to. So please do not hesitate to reach out for help. All right. With that, it looks like we got a sub. And I'm going to say this because I could not get this thing to work. I was trying to put up some sub goals just for fun. Over the last few days, the last couple of weeks, we've had a lot more gift subs and things. And for the second time ever, we are approaching 100 subs on the channel. And it's a little late with this being the last stream on the channel of the month to hit 100, but we're at 66 subscribers right now. So just know that all those gift subs and all those subs help out, whether you sub with Prime or whatever. We appreciate it. That's how all the emotes were powered, was by subs. So, all right, enough rambling. I want to play some D&D. How about you guys? You want to play some D&D? Does anybody remember where we are and what happened?
We were about to stop the yakking and start the hacking.
Exactly. Well, most recently, while in the town of Lonelywood in Icewind Dale, you all were asked to go look into an issue with essentially a white moose that had been causing problems with the hunters, along with other animals acting bizarrely. Not hunters, the loggers, and some wolves that had been also causing problems. You headed out into the Lonely Wood, began investigating, and sure enough, you found yourself seeing a lot of wolves, eventually seeing this moose. Hold on. Sorry, the signal is dropping out to nothing. 1 second. I'm just going to put our warning out there, as per usual. If the stream health drops so bad that we can't continue the stream, we will continue the game offline and put the VOD up. Those go up on the weekend. Sorry, that's why I was being distracted. I'm going to focus now. I'm not going to look at that. You showed up at this elven tomb where there was a cluster of animals, and there was what appeared to be a very timid and sort of friendly rabbit. And then a familiar face emerged. A druid by the name of Vi, a woman who had once been a member of the Dawnbringers before they even were called the Dawnbringers. Somebody who helped in the town of Oakhurst as they delved into the Sunless Citadel, and they ultimately had to face off against her brother, what turned out to be her brother Caleb, who became Belloc, who was causing all the problems. Afterwards, she disappeared. She felt that she was no longer had the adventuring life for her, and went on her own. Later, they found out she went back into the Sunless Citadel, where she ran into a very weak but recently revived Gothias, who may have gotten into her head a little bit and encouraged her to perhaps to seek revenge, or to at least seek a way to get her brother back. And that's how they found out she came to the north, because she heard about this substance that was lining. They found it ultimately in this sarcophagus, this crystal-like substance. And she said that there was nothing they were going to do to stop her. She was going to destroy the 10 towns. She was going to take this region over for herself. And that her brother is now, or will now be known as Belloc the Malevolent. And then she vanished. But in her place, it turned out that she wasn't really there. It was a sort of projection on another familiar face, a one-time friend of the Dawnbringers, a certain kobold by the name of Meepo, who had been turned into a woodwode and became known as Treepo, who has just looked at them and begun to grow multiple times his original size, breaking through the roof of this burial mound. Treepo is now the size of a tree ant and has just shouted down at you from his literal treetop, has just shouted down to you, "I'm bad luck." And that's where we're going to have you all roll initiative. As you know, you have to at least deal with Treepo. Treepo 2.0, I don't know. Treepo the tree ant. All right, I got everybody in there. I will be rolling with my Die Hard Dice Jasper's Game Day dice tonight. They sometimes work out for me. So that would be... Ooh. You guys are lucky trees are slow. Can I type that? All right. I got my numbers in place. Thorgarn, what do you got?
Well, it's back to my old usual. Rolling single-digit numbers. I got a 5.
A 5 for Thorgarn. Cantriel?
9.
Ooh, that is very unlike Cantriel.
I know.
Did you roll like a D4?
Fig?
No, but I rolled a 4. Thank you very much for asking.
21. Just also very
Talmud.
different for Fig.
Talmud.
Talmud got a 13.
Drown.
Drown is a 15.
All right, and let's start the encounter. Fig, of course. With that 21, you're going to go first. Now, just as a quick reminder, you had basically walked up through a passageway from this area where there was like a sundial / moondial thing that was in the open air. You do have open air above you, but you were essentially in underneath this hill. So the surface of the ground is about 12 feet above your head. You're in this 20, 30 foot circular room with now completely open air. As Tripo is standing there, he does have at least one of his massive, literally trunk-like legs standing in this room with you as he's just in this... Looks like he's in the process of stepping up out of the tomb. What would you like to do, Fig?
Fig is immediately going to take a step forward, outstretch his arm, and you see this mote of light erupt from his hand as he's going to try and fireball up into the tree.
All right, well, that ends the encounter, guys. I'm just kidding.
Right into the face.
All right, so that's going to be
So he
a
has to make a
dexterity
dexterity
save.
Yes.
That is a... What's your DC?
17.
That is going to be a fail.
So he's going to take 34 points of fire damage.
34 points of fire damage, which actually is going to be 68 points of fire damage as you see this fireball rush up, illuminating all of you. You feel the rush of heat and then up into the trees, and you just see the flame just leaping from leaf cluster to leaf cluster as now for a moment Tripo is just alight from this massive fireball. Anything else, Fig?
Nope.
All right, Drown, you are going to be up next.
Alrighty. I guess. Oh, this thing is huge. It just took a pant load of fire damage. How close is it to us? Like, are we right up on it?
Pretty much. It's got one leg is still inside this area.
Okay, so if we're within 5 feet of it, that has an effect. All right, so if we're within 5 feet of it, he'll just spin the staff and bring his packed weapon down on the tree toes. 2 attacks. Oof, not good rolls though. On the low end, I have a 17 to hit.
That's gonna hit.
All right, cool. So it'll be 2 hits with the staff. Smack him twice for 11 plus. Holy shit! It's been a long time since I hit things with my staff. I forgot how much damage it does. 35 points of damage total. 2 hits.
You can't help but feel a bit of the vibration back through your staff as you strike this massive tree trunk. And while bark is chipping off of it, you don't seem to be getting through to it as much as you would hope.
Okay, so apparently resistant. So I will use a bonus action to summon up one of those ghostly watery tentacles and lash at it. That'll hit. And so it will take 11 points of cold damage, and its speed is reduced by 10.
All right.
And that's my turn.
You notice that as you hit it, the tentacle hits it. You see right where it strikes it, you see that sort of as the frost spreads across the bark. And then you watch as it almost immediately seems to pull back. Treepo, in his current form, seems to also be resistant to cold damage. As a legendary action, Treepo, as reacting mostly to this fire, you just hear this, and up above you, it's just this massive tree shaking back and forth. And from up in the upper boughs where he crashed through the ceiling, a lot of the snow melted that was caught up in the branches, but you watch as large chunks of snow begins to drop down, and where it lands, some up above, but a couple down below, you watch as the snow forms into a vague humanoid shape, and you have snow golems in the tomb with you. So that was a legendary action. Talmud, you are up now. There are 4 snow golems in this room with you.
Well, shucks. Okay, so immediately as Treepo starts to grow and looms over us as a threat, Talmud's tattoos started to glow up his arms and across his face. And as it reaches his face, they extend outward and change the projection of Talmud into his own version of Meepo. And he brandishes the brand new Gerta Brilne out in front, and he screams up at this imposter, "I'm bad luck, not you, me!" And then he's going to charge at this thing's leg and swing twice. Recklessly.
All right.
Why the hell not? Ooh. That's a 31 to hit.
Yeah, it'll hit.
I hope so.
That's that new +3.
Otherwise, this is going to be a short picnic.
That new +3 mall.
Yeah. Uh-huh. 24 on the second one.
Both hits.
Okay. So, the first one is going to be... I know we discussed this, but I'm going to shoot for it one more time. He's not a dragon.
He is not a dragon in his form.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
He
right.
He no longer has any dragonkin form left.
That's fair. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, Jacob.
Right?
So 17 points of bludgeoning from the first.
Okay.
The second, I'm gonna turn into a super crit.
Okay. So 5 domain dice, which thanks to Acerson and Hawkmere, 4 of those were just given out tonight. So we're gonna just turn this back down to. All right, so that's gonna be automatic max double damage.
In addition, as he takes this second swing, there's dark clouds that gather in the sky above, and a lightning bolt is going to shoot down, meeting Gertabrelne just before it impacts on the surface of the treant. I'm going to go ahead and use that one once a day daily charge.
All right, but before that once daily charge, what is your max damage? Because I know what the max damage is from that, and I know what it is when it's doubled.
Okay, so the max damage is 2d6 is 12 plus an additional 12, 24. So 24 damage is max.
24 on top of the 8d10 that the lightning damage does, which
Don't forget your stat and rage and the magic bonus, Jeremy.
Yeah.
did you
That's
add those in?
24 before it's doubled or anything. Yeah, it's all added in. It's just not doubled. So max damage is 24. So if you're doubling it, it would be 48.
Okay, and that's with your modifiers and your rage bonuses and all that?
Yes.
So that's 48
Yep. It's 2d6 plus 12.
on top of the 160 for the double lightning damage. You are doing
Yeah.
208 points of damage to Tripo.
Goodbye, Trico.
Tripo had 193 hit points. So you tell me, what does this look like as you take my legendary Tripo and it's basically one-shot it?
So again, this lightning bolt shoots out of the sky just as Gertabrelne is swinging around for this second impact, strikes the head, and it kind of illuminates all of the metal inlay that Thorgarn put into the weapon, and it starts to glow almost the same color and brilliance that Talmud's tattoos are. And he strikes with this hammer, and as he hits, Meepo is saying, "Bad luck!" and he hits this treant, and this lightning bolt arcs up, and you can see it working its way through all of the wood grain, almost like those videos of when people put electricity through wood, and you can watch it kind of just blacken its way through the wood in this kind of really cool lightning pattern, all the way up towards his face. And then when it gets to his face, he just explodes in a shower of bark and wood pieces.
Doesn't even have a chance to scream out at this. Literally, all that is left here is the one trunk leg about 8 feet up is just splintered wood and smoldering, and you see those lines where the electricity went through it as leaves, some of them ash or slightly burning still from Fig, and just debris of twigs and sawdust begins raining down on all of you. There is still the matter of the snow golems. You dealt with the giant threat, but the snow golems are still present. That was epic. I absolutely love. I mean, why give an awesome ability and power to a player and be mad when they use it? You know what I mean? So that was epic. That was incredible. Also, as a quick aside, everybody wish D&D Jordan Lee a happy birthday today. Jordan just gave us a gift sub, contributing another domain die, but I know that she's got all kinds of stuff going on this weekend for her birthday celebration. So happy birthday, Jordan. So Thorgarn or Talmud, is there anything else you want to do or can do in this moment?
I think I'm good. I think I'm good. Gloat, maybe? A little? I think that's a free action, though.
This seems like the perfect moment where I just imagine as your hammer was coming down and the lightning was striking, the only sound that we hear is Ave Maria being sung as everything goes in slow motion.
It's the immigrant song. Come on, man.
I was picturing it like a mob movie. All right, well.
Yeah. In Jake's, there were a lot more shotguns.
Now I'm Ray Liotta?
Yeah.
Cantriel.
Can I be Joe Pesci?
Cantriel will look at the state of Treepo and look over to Talmud. What, you couldn't take care of these things either at the same time? And just kind of like grin after saying it, and then she'll look. And then she'll look over to the I like what M said, the Snollums.
Snollums.
And she's going to just almost like half-heartedly say, I have truth on my side. You only have defeat. And she points to Treepo's like smithereen body. And she's casting Bane on them.
All 4 of them?
Well, 3 of them, because you can only do 3 creatures for level 1. So they have to do a charisma saving, and if they're, charismatic, then we have problems.
Well, they are made of snow.
Snow.
Everybody finds snowmen magical, and
I don't know about that.
let's see. I can't see what that number is.
Was it 2? Was it 2?
I rolled a 12, so that means they got a 7 on their charisma check.
So yeah, they totally failed that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so then it just means that D4 subtract from their.
I was digging my D4 out for their rolls. Is that your turn or anything else?
She just kind of like rolls her eyes and just sort of stands there at the ready. That's about all she's going to do with these little Snollums.
Snollums. I'll tell you later what was going to happen with this Treepo, because I'm just looking at all this stuff that I'm not doing now, as it's now Thorgarn's turn.
So full of the majesty that just happened from Talmud. Thorgarn's going to do something that he's never done before, and he's actually going to cast Searing Smite on Forgebane, and then I will lay into one of these Snollums.
All right.
Of course, that changed. So that is a 23 and a 28 to hit.
They have an AC of 8. They're snowmen. I don't know if any of you are capable of missing them with your to hit bonuses.
All right. On the first strike, the Forgebane bursts into flame and ignites the Snollum. So he is going to take 14 points of bludgeoning and 7 points of fire.
Forgebane just goes right through him.
Oh. And then is there another one that's close?
There's 3 more in the room with you, and there's more up above.
Next one takes 15 points of damage.
How much of that's fire?
None of it.
Okay. Just 15 points of bludgeoning?
Yep. And if that puddle is, actually somehow still around at the start of its turn, it makes a con save or takes more fire damage.
Oh, no. Though, yeah, you obliterated the one because of the fire. All right. Is that it, Thorgarn?
Indeed.
So, in this turn, a couple things are going to happen. There's 5 more golems, because there were 4 down with you, so there's 5 more golems up above. you all begin getting pelted with snowballs. As one of their ranged attack is snowballs. So Drown does not get hit with a 4. Fig, a 10 misses you. I imagine
Or he does, and it just like poof.
I was gonna say, I imagine you're all actually getting hit, but they're just not doing anything. You're just getting hit with these light snowballs. Cantriel, you get a 4 as well. Thorgarn does a 19 hit.
I think so. Yeah. Only
Thorgarn, this one apparently grabbed an ice ball. You're gonna take 9 points of cold damage from this. And Talmud, I don't think a 14 hits you. Does it? So Talmud, you just get blasted upside the face, but take no damage from it as well. Inside here, Thorgarn, the one that you attacked, is going to just start pummeling you with its snow fists. It is baned, so we'll see how well that works out. Well, that is a -1 to hit. No, that was a 4. 3 minus 4 is negative. It's a 3 to hit, so that's a miss. It's a 13 minus 2 is 11 plus 4 is a 15 to hit, so I'm assuming that's a miss as well. And the last one is going to be 9 to hit. So yeah, this thing just comes up to you and it's just like this, just snowy hands trying to hit at you. Cantriel, one of them comes running up to you. Same thing, it's just little snowy arms are a flurry. That is a 10 to hit.
Oh, aren't you cute?
Another 10 to hit.
That's adorable.
A critical failure.
Oopsie.
As this one comes just flailing at you, it's not even looking, its arms spinning around, it kind of turns its back to you. You do get an opportunity attack on that one.
Can she it's like she goes to boop it with a rapier, like almost like she's not even trying to hurt it is sort of the attack idea, but she'll probably use some damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. All right, that's going to be a dirty 20 to hit.
Okay,
And
yeah, that's a hit.
that is 8 piercing.
Is that a magical rapier?
No, it's not. It's just a plain one.
Right.
You have one?
Fig. This next one comes up to you, and the first one, it just cuts across one of the sharp edges on your metal body, and you see part of its snow hand just go. It looks up at you, and it shoulders into you. Does an 18 hit you, Fig?
Yes.
And then it follows up with what would have been a critical hit, but the Bane reduced it to an 18, and with its modifier is a 22. So this one's going to hit you twice. You will take 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 points of bludgeoning.
I can send dwarf spirits to intercept damage.
Okay.
Reaction 3d6.
Okay. Well, there's 12 points of bludgeoning on the table so far.
That's 15.
Okay. And then 18 points of cold damage. So 15 total cold damage you take, Fig. As the spirits get in the way and take some of that damage. We are back to the top of the order with... Hold on. Oops. With Fig. You've got one engaged with you that just did a surprising amount of damage to you for being a little snowman. What's that snowman's name in Frozen?
Olaf.
Olaf. That's what I'm just
Parents.
picturing, like 8 Olafs in here.
Oh no.
Okay, they like warm hugs.
So the one in front of me, Fig will kind of place his hand on the snowman's like chest, and you see that around his fingers, little tiny motes of lightning begin to form and crackle as he's going to cast Shocking Grasp.
Okay.
So 21 to hit for 20
Yeah.
points of lightning damage.
This one that just bashed into you, as you reach out and touch it, it just starts going, and it just collapses. It loses its corporeal form as it just, and it just for a moment snows in front of you as you turn it into a micro blizzard.
I have a question. Do these things have like little rocks for eyes? I don't know why I imagine them having it, but are they just snow?
We're gonna say yeah, because they do in the artwork. They do have some sort of something there. I can't really see it at the moment on this, but yeah, sure.
Okay. Fig wants to pick up the little stone.
Okay,
ones.
so it's not rock eyes. What you actually see is they don't have eyes at all, but they have a mouth that's full of gravel for teeth. So there's these little rocks like gravel that just when it disintegrates just clatter to the ground. So you can pick up one of the dead snowman's teeth, the dungeon master said.
Yeah, he's gonna put it into his hat.
Okay. Snow golem tooth. Add it to your inventory. Okay. Anything else, Fig? To drown. It is your turn.
How many of these snowmen are left?
There are 5 up above you, 2 remain down below.
Right. All right. So he will probably just lay into the nearest snowman with his packed weapon. That's a natural 1, so that's bad. The other one is going to hit for 17 magical bludgeoning damage.
You blast through this one. It's pretty much what you would expect if you
hit a big pile of snow with a baseball
hit a big pile of snow with a baseball bat. There's a clattering sound as the gravel teeth go ricocheting off the wall.
And I'm just going to assume that things made of snow are immune to cold, so I'm not going to waste everyone's time by smacking it with a tentacle. So I'm done.
All right. So we're down to 1 left below with all of you, and 5 up above Talmud.
So Talmud rounds on the one that's kind of still left, and he puts Geralt of Brelne out in front of him and is just going to cackle madly as Meepo and runs across the floor of the cairn and is just going to run through this snowman. Just and he's going to attack recklessly, of course. Oh my god.
Does that mean you're attacking
So that's a 31.
you're attacking without a cairn in the world?
No cairn in the world.
You said a 31 to hit?
Second time just for that, Jacob. Yep.
Roll that damage.
The second is going to be a 26 to hit. Okay.
I mean, I feel pretty confident that the damage you do, just the damage bonus alone with that maul is probably going to obliterate this Snowlum. What's the first hit do?
That's fair. 7 and 12. So 19 points of damage.
This, you just obliterate another Snowlum. The ones down below are done. So you've only got your first hit. You've got all your movement. And you've got 5 Snowlums up above you.
You said, like, Tripo's leg is still there?
Yeah, I actually said Tripo's leg, about 8 feet of it is there. And the lip of the top of this cairn is 12 feet. So there's 4 feet of difference between the top of the Tripo leg and the top of the cairn.
All right. So, yeah, he's going to use the rest of his movement to kind of move over to this tree, sling Gerto over his shoulder, and begin trying to scramble up this thing as if he were a kobold. We'll see how well that works, I guess.
I'm not going to make you roll for this because you've got a tree trunk with these gnarled handholds and everything in front of you. You're in this intense battle, and I just see Talmud running across, leaping half the distance up there, and just and I'll say without a roll, you can get all the way to the top. It'll take your movement to climb up there, plus what it took you to get there. You are now standing on top of the Tripo leg, and with your height, you're probably just looking at or up, slightly up at the ground level above you. And there, right up above you, stands a Snowlum, which is apparently what they're called now in
So
our game.
The Snowlums are like one of them is at the edge, so he's within range of the weapon.
All 5 of them are there. I mean, well, yeah, I said it was 4 feet away from you, and you can hit anything within 5 feet of you. So,
all right, I'm gonna aim for that lowest sphere that forms the snowman, and I'm gonna swing for that. See if I can't knock his feet.
They do have feet. They kind of look like bottom heavy, slightly humanoid forms.
Okay. So that's a 17 to hit.
That's a hit. I said that they're AC 18.
Sweet.
I don't think you can miss. Doesn't Gerta have a plus 12 to hit?
Yeah.
Yeah. You just need to tell me your damage on these. Well, you do need to roll because you got to see if you critically fail.
True. Okay, so that one is 19 points.
You just knock the snow right out from underneath it, and more snow comes raining down on your companions in the cairn. As there are now 4 Snowlums left. They're all up above. Cantriel, it's your turn.
These things are annoying, aren't they? And she's gonna they're above now, right?
Yep.
Okay, so she's gonna take Sempre and try and shoot one and then shoot the other. See what happens. So that's going to be a 28 to hit the first one. Does that hit, Jake?
3 times over.
That's 11 points piercing.
All right, that is not quite enough to take it out in one shot.
Okay, but it has a friend nearby, right?
It does.
All right, she's going to shoot the one standing next to it, like, first you, then you. It's going to be a 16 to hit.
Yep.
And that's going to be 13 piercing.
These 2 Snowlums just have these, you see with the arrow, it looks like it just goes and passes right through them. And they kind of look at each other and they grin with these big teethy gravel grins. And then where the arrows pass through, it just kind of goes, crumbles a bit. And there's a fist-sized hole through the center of each of them. They're both still standing, but you did some pretty good damage to them.
Maybe run away.
Anything else?
No, she's very much non-pulsed by the little Snowlums. She's kind of like, oh, these are just annoying.
Thorgarn.
So Thorgarn, looks up at the distance, and he could try and climb the tree and do as his cousin did, but he just kind of gives Forge Fane a little bit of heft, wings it at the first one. I rolled like crap on both attacks, but you said they got a cruddy AC, so I'm hoping they both still hit. It's a 15 and a 13.
Yes, they both still hit.
All right. Wow. So that is 18 damage to one, and then 22 damage to the second.
Both of them obliterated as Thorgarn seems to be putting on a one-man reenactment of Thor versus the Ice Giants. Let's see. One, that leaves 2 up above. And let's see. So that was Thorgarn. It's the Snow Golem's turn. You watch as the Snow Golems gather up more snow, and they look like they're ready to start. The 2 remaining look like they're ready to start pelting all of you with snowballs again. Talmud, you hear, because you're so close up there, you hear this sort of a, and the 2 snow golems go, and they just disintegrate. Snow falling all throughout this cairn as the last 2 are completely obliterated. For a moment, your vision is obscured. And as the snow clears, you all look, and standing there at the edge of the cairn, right in front of you, Talmud, is the White Moose. It looks right down at you, Talmud. Are you all right? V just took a drink.
The face that still looks like Meepo just kind of looks up at this moose and says, I bad luck. And the face kind of retreats back into Talmud's actual face. The tattoos kind of fade, stop glowing, and he kind of shakes his head, rubs his temples, and looks and realizes that he's kind of perched precariously on the top of this broken treant leg with a moose standing right in front of him. So he kind of like, and he like flails backwards and starts to like fall off the edge of this tree leg.
Make a dexterity saving throw.
I'm gonna do it at disadvantage.
Hey, Jake, the 15 temporary hit points that we had gotten in town, did we still have those? Or have they faded?
You got those from the cookies, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, we haven't taken a long rest or anything. So
No, you haven't taken a long rest, so you'd have them.
That's an 8 on that save.
It's been 2 weeks in real life since we played, but it's only been a few hours since you left town. All right, yeah, Talmud, you're gonna fall 8 feet down, and you're gonna land in the sarcophagus with what appears to be the now under your weight shattered bones of Belak. But you also land in amidst all of this Chardelin. This sort of black crystal-like, or almost grayish crystal-like material that seems to have. It looks both. I mean, you're completely surrounded by it. You take 1 point of bludgeoning damage from your fall. You are completely surrounded by this stuff, and where did it go? There it is. You can see it. It has this qualities of crystal, but also almost looks like metal at the same time. There's a fair amount of it in here. Fist-sized pieces of it.
It looks like it was placed here, though, right? Not like it grew here.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, especially if like he broke any pieces whenever he fell, then he'll just kind of gather up a handful of like the little pieces that are broken of it, and kind of once he kind of gets his breath back and kind of rolls out of the sarcophagus onto the floor, and kind of
guarantee you did not break any of the pieces of Chardolin. You broke bones.
There you go.
Fortunately, not your own. The bones you fell on. But no, this Chardolin turns out to be very hard material.
Okay, so he lands and looking at this stuff, and he reaches behind his back where he's feeling like a pain, and he pulls out this rib, and he's like, well, it's not mine. And like he kind of drops it back into the sarcophagus and then climbs back out, and then is going to grab one of these things and take it over to Thorgarn. Have you ever seen anything like this before?
Is it stone? Is it metal? Is there any chance I've seen anything like
crystal?
it?
Jake, could I do a Arcana check on it?
Absolutely. You can make a history check with advantage, Thorgarn.
History check with advantage. Well, I'm not gonna.
That's a 27.
So that's much less for me. That's a 12.
Yeah, Thorgarn, you've never seen anything like this. Mostly Cantriel, you're picking up a mixture of the things that Vi said when she talked about her plans and what Gothias had said, and talking a bit about the Chardolin, but also in your travels as a bard, and particularly in the region that you traveled. Most of you are from in and around the region of Oakhurst, which is north of the Desserin Valley and, relatively speaking, close to the spine of the world in Icewind Dale, relative to the rest of the Sword Coast and the realms. You've heard stories about a long time ago of an evil wizard that attempted to take over this region, and when he was thwarted, there was a tower that he had created, and this tower was known as Krishinabam, and when it shattered, that pieces of this magical crystal scattered throughout the region, and there are legends surrounding this magical crystal and its powers and abilities.
She'll relay that to everyone too, just to make sure everyone's in the know. It's not something she's going to keep to herself at all.
So is it metal? Can we actually work with it?
Pick a chunk of it up, like.
Well, didn't some of it melt from her breath weapon?
Just examine it. Did any of it melt?
From the last description before we ended the stream? Like, I thought some of it got, like, melted down.
I thought you were burning the bones. I don't know if the
Yeah,
it was surrounded by bones.
It was mostly the bones. I would say, Jeremy. Yes, the Tower of Cinnabon. Hashtag not a sponsor.
What could be? So hit us up.
Right. I would say that maybe from your dragon's breath, some of you would notice that maybe just a little bit of the edge of some of this Chardelin has melted just a little bit. Like this was just a quick burst of dragon fire, intense, hot, and pointed, but not for very long. So it didn't have a chance to fully have the effect on this stuff. But you get the sense, though, Thorgarn, this seems like something that with a little bit more study and practice, this is something that's potentially workable.
Well, then he's definitely gonna grab some up, and that'll be something to experiment with.
So, as Talmud is extricating himself from the sarcophagus, Thorgarn and Cantriel are a bit occupied with looking at and trying to figure out the Chardelin stuff. Drown and Fig, you notice as you're sort of watching your party members as they're looking in, you just feel a little bit of snow and stone just sort of trickle down on your shoulder. Looking up, you see the white moose is still standing there, but you now see that all around the rim, looking down inside at you, are the wolves.
Are they just chilling up there, just casually watching, or is there any aggressiveness?
As you're looking, you see the moose sort of looking around as the wolves. As you look up, it's sort of like you see the pack leader had sort of stepped in, and then as you're looking up, you're seeing the rest of the wolves are just sort of stepping up to the edge. They're all looking down. The moose bows its head down a little bit. I said, "Are you all okay?" And that's when you notice the wolves, for the most part, just seem to be like dopey dog expressions. And
the wolves aren't attacking the moose?
No.
Yeah, so I guess Drown will just kind of look up, take a quick look around to make sure nobody is actually grievously injured or anything, which I don't think anyone is. And he'll say, "We are fine."
Did that moose just speak?
Yes. We have come seeking you and your wolf companions. Will you talk?
Well, clearly he can talk. What?
It might be easier if you come up here. I assure
The
you.
rabbit was talking.
Is there an easy way up there, Jake, or will we have to
You just backtrack. You came the equivalent of through maybe 50 feet of hallway.
Okay.
It wasn't
There's an easy way up there.
Yeah. It'll take you just a few moments to wind your way back through, and about the time you come out from the where the large circular area is with this moon dial, the wolves and the moose show up in there as well. You were sent to kill me, yes?
That is probably what the village expected, but it was clear that none of you are ordinary beasts. So
Eyes gone off her rocker.
If we can discuss this, then there is no need for anyone to die.
Earlier, I would have suggested we would have you far outmatched. You hear a bit of rustling and growling from some of the wolves. But we saw what you did to that tree. Man, thing.
Treepo. Just make it easy. Call it Treepo.
Treepo.
Mm-hmm.
Forgive me. I have not much experience being able to name things.
That's perfectly fine and understandable. Speaking of names, have you one?
I do not. I was not given a name. I was only awakened and given a voice.
Everything with a voice should have a name.
Perhaps. The one you called Vi, the druid,
Yes.
it was her who awakened us.
And didn't give you names.
For months she has been awakening all of the animals. She bragged that she awakened a monster in the lake. We have all been very protective of our forest and protective of her, but only because we feared that if anything happened to her, we will no longer be. I'm only just learning what it's like to know things, to experience things in this world differently. I don't want that taken away. You hear from behind the moose, the pack leader of the wolves, "No, none of us do."
And that's all completely fair and understandable. But it's no existence.
I believe what was done to you is not so simply undone. This is how you are now.
If you kill her, we won't go back to the way we were. I won't go back. I don't want to go back.
Drown will kind of look at Fig and probably Cantriel because she knows a bit more about
Anna check
druidic
Fig.
type magic. 'Cause I already blew my check to
Yeah,
understand
Fig-
how
Fig-
it works, but
Fig and
22.
Cantriel could do Arcana checks.
22 on Arcana.
I am not
12.
familiar with this specific magic, but similar things are lasting.
Cantriel, your knowledge of magic tells you that this type of awakening spell is a permanent thing. It's not reliant upon the spellcaster. Once awakened, for better or worse, the awakened creatures are forever that way, and as long as their life shall live.
What if I were to tell you that, regardless of what happens to Vi, you may stay as you are? That you're not obligated or beholden to be someone's pawn. That you're free to act and decide for yourselves.
We have not been acting for ourselves.
That's no way to live.
We have been acting on her whims. But she showed
Feel free
little
to.
to no concern for us. Once awakened, we were left to our own devices, telling us only to keep the townsfolk out of here. That is why we attacked.
That's disappointing.
Well,
These
That is
creatures-
not what you want.
Cantriel nods to Fig.
say that again?
Fig just, but that is not what you want.
The moose cocks its head to the side. I have never been asked what I want.
That's not fair to you.
I only am just beginning to understand what it means to want. Our lives are instinct. But now we can think and work together. I don't know how forests are elsewhere in the world, but prior to awakening, I have never seen wolves and moose, squirrels and rabbits working together for a single cause.
And what would you like that cause to be?
I want to live and figure that out. I have no quarrel with the folks who pull the trees from this forest. We have always kept our distance before the awakening. They take what they need, they plant new trees. They care for the forest.
And what would you like to be called?
I don't understand this question.
I'm called Cantriel. It's my name. It is unique to me. That is Fig. That is Drown and Talmud and Thorgarn. We all have names. They all mean something to us. They all give us an identity. It's only fair as a creature more aware of yourself that you have a means of identifying yourself.
Would then my name be Moose?
You are a moose. Granted, I've known a few mooses in my past, but they're not actually the animal itself. I am an elf, but I would not call myself elf. Though that one might, and she'll point to Talmud.
You're not an elf?
It's beyond what you are. It is who you are.
How do you communicate with each other?
Well, now we speak.
No, but I mean, and I'll point to the wolf. If you wish to speak to that wolf, you have to go up to them to speak to them. If you each had a name, then you would be able to call out and have that specific wolf answer you.
The pack leader sort of paces around and comes a little bit closer. We have never had need for names. We know each other's scent. That is how we know who we are talking to.
What, can your moose friend scent as well?
Most animals of the forest know by smell.
We are not going to insist if you have no desire for it. Our ways might not necessarily work for you, but that is how our folk tend to do things.
Thorgarn, as you're sort of talking, the moose begins to walk past you. I mean, this is a moose. This thing is towering over top of all of you, actually, except perhaps for Drown. And with the antlers, the moose is still a little bit taller. but I would dare say that Drown, you probably are at an eye level with this moose, and it's walking right towards you.
Drown is unperturbed.
It stops less than 5 feet in front of you.
Mhm.
Who gave you your name?
He looks confused for a moment, like the question just doesn't make sense. Kind of blinks, he just sort of stares off into the middle distance for a moment, shakes his head and says, I chose it for myself. It was fitting for what happened.
The name that you gave yourself. It is not your true name.
It is my only name.
I don't understand how I know this. But I know that your name, your true name, was lost. I can sense it like a blemish in the fabric of nature.
Everything I was is gone.
But you gave yourself a new name. You are not who you were then.
I don't know.
You have the scent of Oya Minotaur on you. You have met the walking bear.
She saved my life from a very great fall.
Did you know she was once of your kind?
I did not.
The gray-skinned giant kin of the mountains.
There are Goliath here in these mountains.
There are.
That is good to know. I appreciate that.
You named yourself Drown.
Yes.
And if you were me, what would you call yourself?
What has your life been since you awakened?
Fear. And it has been built on lies, the lies of the Druid. She ruled us by fear, making us terrorize the people of the villages. It is not what I want. I want to live peacefully, here or wherever I roam.
Freedom. That is what you wish.
Drown smiles, nods when Thorgarn says that, and says, were I you, I would have called myself Galdrak. That is freedom in the giant tongue.
Galdrick. The moose bows its head slightly at you. It turns. There's a... as the antlers just barely brush across the top of your head as it swings around, and it strides a few feet away from all of you where there is an old stump that, or rather, a stump of an older tree that looks like was knocked down in Treepo's rising. And it places its front legs up on this stump so that it rises about 3 feet higher. And it makes, in my head, I hear the sound of the caribou from the Polar Express, but it makes the sort of bleeding call sound of a moose. And then it says in common, "My name is Galdrick." And you hear this, "Galdrick, Galdrick." And then the wolves all begin howling around you. And that's where we're going to take our break. All right.
That we get to name him.
That was very cool. Geldrick, the white moose. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and we are going to take a 10-minute break. Thank you to everybody who's hanging out with us in chat. We always appreciate you. Thank you so much to all of the wonderful folks who have gifted out subs or subbed themselves. And Star19, I saw that you subbed for your 25th month, and we've missed you. Glad to see you back. I know it's been a long time, but we're so happy to see you back. And if you're in chat and just lurking with us, that's okay too. We're going to go ahead and take our 10-minute break. We'll see you on the other side for the rest of this session. We'll be back in a moment. And we are back. Unless there is anything else you want to talk to the wolves or the moose about, we can sort of fast forward to you all returning to Lonelywood. But by all means, if there's anything else you wanted to do while you're in the woods around the talking animals, you may do so.
Can we sing a song? Like we're in a Disney movie?
You're not a Disney princess, Talmud. Sorry.
Not yet. Disney
We're
owns
gonna
everything else,
crush
though,
his
so
spirit.
just hold on.
Which one?
Oh my god. Well done, sir.
All right, so I will say that in addition to, as you've extricated yourself from the sarcophagus, that in addition to the I'm assuming you're taking several of the chunks of Chardelin with you.
I mean, any reason not to take all of it if we think it might be
Well,
useful?
I mean, you've got a bag of, or rather a hat of holding at your disposal, so.
And a dog sled, right?
Oh yeah, you have a dog sled too. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
A Goliath that can carry a shitload of weight. That is a technical measurement.
Yes. You do also find, somehow miraculously unbroken, in the sarcophagus, as you're pulling all of the other stuff out, there are a couple of potions. They are in crystal vials. One is a potion of resistance to radiant. And one is a potion... What?
Is someone writing this down? Sorry.
Oh.
Ted. Okay.
I think Ted is the treasurer. Yeah, potion of resistance to radiant and a potion of vitality.
So Ted's the treasurer?
The treasurer. So by the time you return to Lonelywood, it's late afternoon. Snow is, the clouds are hanging really low. Large, thick snowflakes are beginning to fall in earnest. Your vision is starting to get a little obscured by the heavy snow that's falling. The wind is just beginning to pick up a bit. It looks like another, not too severe, but it looks like another snowstorm might be moving through. So you're a little closer into the town by the time you see the lights of the lanterns, and you head into town. Would you head to, where would you go? There's a number of places that you're familiar with. Would you go to your new ramshackle? Would you go to Nimsy Huddle's place? Would you go to the tavern?
Is she cooking?
It does seem to be around dinner time.
Then that's where Talmud's headed.
That was also
at
where you
least-
left when the
It's on
hunters
the
were
way.
wounded.
And we could at least go and tell her that the beasts will no longer be.
She's the
Yeah,
town
best
leader.
to update the town speaker. You know, this is
Let
what's
us
going
turn
on.
in the quest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Ding!
Exactly. Exclamation point above her hut.
Yeah. So you pull your dog sleds up to the town speaker's house, and you can see a warm glow coming from within. The curling smoke from the chimney is lost in the now heavily falling snow. But you're able to walk up on the porch and shake the snow off your boots and off yourselves, and you can already smell a rich stew. You smell a hearty meat stew, and you smell breads and just all kinds of stuff that's been cooked. And sure enough, you open the door, and the warm, cozy heat of the interior hits you, and just all of the smells of the cooking food. And you see that the wounded huntsman, or I keep calling him the huntsman, lumberjack, is seated at the table with a leg up, or what's left of his. I mean, it's there, but you had healed it partially, but it's propped up on the table, or not on the table, on the bench. He's already digging into a plate, and as you walk in, Nimsy just immediately comes over. You're tracking snow all over the place. Just take your jackets off, hang them on the hooks. Come on in. There's plenty. I was hoping you'd make it back in time for dinner. Did you,
Talmud has snapped off 2 icicles from outside and has put them between his top lip and his teeth, like they're really long fangs. And he's already chasing all of the halfling children around, like terrorizing them and growling.
All right. Great. That was what was missing all day, was screaming children. As Talmud takes off. And she just ushers you all inside, and
Well, at least they'll sleep tonight from being worn out.
right. So she's kind of looking past you, and she looks at you, Fig. Do you by chance have a moose carcass on your sled? Is there something we're going to need to process?
Actually, not so necessary to kill it, because we spoke with it.
The lumberjack, whose name I completely forgot. I want to say it was like Donnie or something like that. I can't remember his name.
Oh, Donnie boy.
Oh, this is that notebook I got screwed up on, and I flipped it halfway through, so I lost track of my notes. But yeah, he looks over at you all, and he's just threw a mouthful of mashed potatoes. What do you mean you talk to it?
First of all, say it, don't spray it. Secondly, exactly that. I spoke with it. We spoke with it. Quite frankly, it was under the influence of someone with ill intent. They personally have no desire, no want to do harm to the people of the village. However, there is a druid out there with less altruistic intentions for the people of Icewind Dale. She goes by the name of Vi. We knew her once, but she has changed.
Well, that's an interesting development.
Oh, quite.
So, your old friend Vi was in charge of the animals in the forest? I don't understand.
She is responsible for awakening the animals.
Right.
They were acting under the fear that should anything happen to her, something would happen to them, which is not the case.
Used her magic to give them awareness, intelligence, the ability to speak. They are not simply beasts. They are people, for lack of a better term.
The woodsman just no mind that his mouth is half full of food. His jaw just drops.
If you see them again, you should be able to speak with and parlay with them, and they will not attack anyone.
It talks, and you want me to talk to it.
Yes, and it has a name now.
I don't care what you do. It will probably kill you if you antagonize it. I'm simply giving you the tools that you will hopefully use to survive. That is up to you.
I'm sorry, did you say it had a name?
Yes.
Right. Now, so this named Muse, is it going to continue to antagonize us as we go
No.
into the woods?
No. It sees that you're trying to replenish the forest. It sees that you're not out to be malicious towards its existence. They were acting under duress. They were acting under fear. They thought if anything should happen to the druid who woke them, they would cease to exist.
Nimsy
He
sort
literally
of...
chose the name Freedom for himself. So doesn't really seem like a very nasty sort to me.
They could have tried to attack us and maul us and maim us, but they did not. There's not a scratch on us from them.
Oh, I've noticed that. You look as though you've not seen any kind of action whatsoever.
Oh, we have. Just not from them.
Huh. All right. Well, she goes over to the woodsman. Listen. We will take this up. We will have a council meeting. We will take into consideration all that these folks have told us. We will make a plan. And we will be putting together a group of individuals that will go into the forest to parley with the animals. I've said some crazy things in my day, but I didn't think I'd be saying that. But please do sit down and help yourself. You've had a long day. And she's making room for all of you at the table and passing out plates and stuff as she continues talking. But this druid that you said you knew before, what interest does she have here in the Lonely Wood?
Not good ones.
Did you kill her?
No.
Is she
But
imprisoned? She got away, didn't she?
she did.
All right. And what? Do you know where she went?
No, but I have a feeling my companions and I are going to want to find out.
No, she has created some sort of, we don't know exactly what, but she believes she will use it to destroy 10 towns.
All of 10 towns?
That is
Seems to
what
be
she
her
said.
intention.
How
She
powerful is
quite-
this druid?
She's been playing with that substance.
Substance, what do you mean?
Crystals, dark in color.
Talmud will pull one out, set it down on the table. This stuff, this strange material,
Practically covered in it.
Call it Chardolin.
Yes. Chardolin.
Know much of it?
I know very little about it, only of the stories. I was barely even walking when the tales of that crystal tower for so long ago. when that darkness permeated this land. I wish I could say it was before my time, but it was far enough back that I have no recollection of the events. But I know of the stories, and I know of people who were affected by it. We had hoped that this stuff had stayed gone and buried under the snows ever since, well, our current condition. But it seems this, whatever this is, it's making its way back into Icewind Dale's story. I don't know much about this stuff, but you might try talking to someone in Bryn Shander. The town speaker there. She's a stern but fair woman, Duvessa Shane. Her and Sheriff Markham Southwell, they keep the peace there. But I've heard through the speakers, I had heard rumours that questions had been arising about Chardolin. And there appears to be a gentleman in Bryn Shander who he himself in particular has been asking a lot of questions. We've been keeping an eye out. I've been keeping an eye out to see if he came this way, but none of you matched his description.
Know this man's name?
I don't know what his name is. He's described as a human man, young, lean but muscular, shockingly red hair. But if you go to Bryn Shander, seek out Duvessa Shane, or seek out the Sheriff Markham. You could head to the tavern there, as most anybody, if he's been asking around, might hear there. Bryn Shander, I'll warn you though, it's a fair size bigger than Lonelywood. By a fair size, I mean a good 10, 12 times the size of our little humble town here.
How many days' travel away is it?
Well, it depends on the weather. It looks like a bit of a storm's coming up now. In weather like this, it might take you 10, 12 hours by dog sled. Well, by dog sled, you could probably do it in 8. If the weather lets up, you might be able to do it in as little as 6.
So perhaps best to wait out the storm, perhaps get settled in the...
We might be able to do something about that storm.
It's true.
Well, it's getting on towards night, and I wouldn't recommend travelling on the roads. I would say after dark, but, well, when the darker dark hits, it's, well, it's probably best to wait till morning. Please do eat up. The reason that we're preparing such a warm table for you tonight, anyway, and providing plenty of warmth, and you're going to want to sleep in a warm bed tonight, at least here in Lonelywood. Tomorrow is a day of sacrifice to the Frostmaiden. And don't worry, I see that look of concern in your eyes when I say sacrifice. We're civilized here. We sacrifice our warmth for one day. One day a month. So come morning, the hearths will be cold. They will stay that way for 24 hours.
But other places sacrifice more than simple warmth.
Some places they give up offerings from their herds. Some people they give offerings from whatever crops they're able to raise. Initially we tried offerings of wood from the forest, but we were hit with the harshest blizzard, and they didn't seem to let up until we sacrificed warmth. There are some out there that hold lotteries. Those whose chip are drawn, they are left out on the tundra as sacrifice to Ariel. But we don't go for that here in the Lonely Wood. It'll be a day of no warmth, and it'll be a harsh day. We would ask, when morning comes, if you stay in your new home, when morning comes, put out your hearths, put out your fires, strike no flame, at least while you're in the Lonely Wood.
That's a fair request.
It should be particularly easy if you're planning on leaving.
I think Talmud kind of eyeballs Fig at the strike no flame. Like,
I imagine, just for irony's sake, at that exact moment you look over, Fig just has like this little mote of fire that he's been playing around with on his hands. He just kind of looks up.
Oops. May I ask a favor of you?
Yes.
My companions and I are going to settle in the old inn and make it our own. And she's looking to Fig as she says this. I intend to leave something behind there that may need to be checked in on. And as she's saying this, Verity's head's going to stick out from underneath her cloak and just sort of like make a little rah sound. Do you think that I could leave Verity here with you all for this first time without heat? But in the future, I'd like to leave him at the inn so he's better protected. Do you think one of you or the children perhaps could stop by and check in on him every so often while we're gone, when we're not here?
From the living room, you hear a familiar voice as Yesha comes walking in. Well, I could watch him. I've been at the inn all day helping to clear it out. A lot of the townsfolk were pulling all of the wood that was in there out, and we were shaking out some of the linens on the beds upstairs, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done to that place, and I got started on as much as I could, and I even found, did you know there's a wine cellar, and somehow much of it did not manage to not freeze?
I didn't want to assume that you'd want to stay. But
Talmud goes over to Yesha and like, did you eat something today?
I have eaten so much. I don't know
And drink?
how she finds time to do anything else. That woman seems to constantly be cooking, and when she's not cooking, she's feeding you what she cooked. And it's all delicious.
It's kind of great.
Oh, it's not a complaint.
I'm thinking about retiring and just moving in here.
That wouldn't be a bad idea. But if you're going to be going anywhere, Nimsy's already told me about the Day of Cold, and I will see to it that Everybody around here calls it Ramshackle. I suppose you'll be giving it some new name. But in the meantime, I can keep warm by continuing to clean the place, and I can look after Verde.
Keep him cuddled up against you. He'll help you keep warm too.
And she just kind of walks up and just kind of is like petting his head and
kind of pull him out from under the cloak and pass him over to her. Start now.
He just sort of hops the short distance with a flutter of the wings, lands, and immediately the tail curls around her wrist, and you hear this sort of mewling sound, and she's just immediately into, oh, it's a good little fairy dragon. Oh, you're the best. And she's already sitting down and starting to feed him little morsels from the table.
Cantriel glances over to Talmud and just sort of quirks a brow with a slight smile on her face.
And she continues to throughout the meal. You can't help but notice as she's telling you about the day, she's constantly saying things like, "Oh, you should have seen it. I was just starting to look at how we were going to do things, and then Ravos showed up with a whole team of dog sleds, and I didn't even know where to start, and Ravos was taking charge of this, and then Ravos seemed to know the place, and it's Ravos this and Ravos this and Ravos that, and you can't help but notice she has a little bit of a smile on the corner of her lips whenever she talks about Ravos, the half-elf that you first met when you came to town, and
for some strange reason, Talmud feels like the hairs on the back of his neck and his arms kind of like bristling.
She said, well, Ravos has said that he'll come by tomorrow on the day of cold and continue to help out, and that we can keep busy and we shouldn't have any problem keeping warm.
No problem keeping warm.
Really busy and keeping warm. Sounds idyllic.
Wait a second. Talmud says, like, way delayed.
So unless anybody has anything else they specifically want to talk about, what is your plan? Are you going to stay the night? Are you planning to head then to Bryn Shandar in the morning?
So.
Okay.
Unless anyone has a better idea.
After breakfast, of course.
The red-haired fellow who's asking about Charlton.
Excuse me.
So Thorgarn's probably going to spend a little bit of that evening, like looking at the Charlton to try and compare it to other materials he's worked with, stone and metal and what have you. He's not going to try and get into a project and try to see how it responds to the different, techniques or any of that kind of stuff, but he's just going to examine it, feel it, just whatever.
So, as you're just sort of toying with it, turning it over in your hands, and maybe even just taking some light cursory, I can almost imagine, even at the dinner table, sort of taking a fork or a knife and sort of tapping the side of it, and just getting a sense for what this stuff is, what it does. The one thing that you notice, in particular after being inside the warm house of the townspeaker for quite some time, this stuff remains cold to the touch. It seems to be infused with cold. You notice that it just, the visible properties, the density looking at it, it seems like it would be pretty malleable with a little bit of just getting a sense. You'll have to experiment on it to see how it reacts to the forge and to your tools. But even sort of playing around with the maybe even just running a bit of like an arcane check or just the inherent magic that you have from your magical abilities, it seems to resonate with the magic.
Okay.
It gives you the sense that this material would be very susceptible to magical enchantment.
Excellent. So, I mean, if Figure Cantriel would, have any interest, he would definitely talk about inquire, what they know, what they've heard, see what he's got to say as far as, the properties and whatnot.
I think is definitely interested in seeing what this is and how it works.
Yeah, you're in this short time. The two of you are sure that with more dedicated time with it, you could get a better sense of what its capabilities actually are. But at the very least, that you have found a substance that is a craftable item, we'll say.
Awesome.
Anything else anybody wants to do before?
Yeah.
Or while the night remains?
What is the name of the dog sled guy again? Ravos?
No, the dog sled dude. Was that Renee? Or was that Jasper?
No, I'm sorry. The one that
the one that Yesha's
been hanging out with. Yeah.
That's Ravos Vask.
Ravos. Talmud is gonna kind of go off on his own after a bit at some point and go talk to Ravos.
Where are you gonna go?
Where was the last time we saw him?
Here at Nimsey's. The only other place you've seen him specifically was at the Lucky Liar, the tavern.
Okay. I guess he'll head there. He'll head to the Lucky Liar, and if he's not there, then he'll ask people where he could be found.
As seems to be the usual, the Lucky Liar is chock full of fisher folk and woodsmen and townsfolk. There's lots of laughter, lots of eating and drinking. Not necessarily a party atmosphere, but a hoppin' tavern.
So he kind of walks in. He takes care of the first order of business by ordering an ale, and then he starts looking for Ravos, seeing if he can find him amongst the crowd of people here.
Yeah, the place isn't that big, so it doesn't take you long before you see Ravos. Ravos is actually at the bar, and he is tipping back a large mug of drink. Seems to be chatting up the Danae, the dark-haired barkeep.
Like just talking, or is he laying on charm?
Oh no, he just seems to be just talking with her.
Okay. That was going to be a very different kind of conversation then. So Talmud's going to walk up beside this guy, and
as you walk up to him, you hear him talking.
A mug in one hand.
You come in mid conversation, and he's like, just finished taking a drink, and he's like, yeah, so like I was saying, well, she was the prettiest thing that I'd ever seen, but she didn't want to move, so I just gave her a smack on the ass, and boom, we were off.
Talmud like slams his tankard down on the table or wherever they are, kind of next to him.
Oh, whoa, hey, Talmud, how are you doing?
Well, I was doing a lot better, but something soured my drink just as I was walking up. Would you fetch me another one?
Sure, not a problem, Danae. Whatever he wants in his mug, put it in there on my tab.
It's a good lad you are. See, I knew I could come to like you. I hope I can come to like you.
Why wouldn't you like me? I like you and your friends very well. I thought we were getting along quite well.
You spent a lot of time over at the Ramshackle Inn, I believe it's called, today.
Yeah. Well, when Nimsy said she had given it over to you and the Dawnbringers, I thought might as well use my dogs and sleds and see what we could do to get hold of that wood that was being stored in and out of there, and some of the broken furniture and stuff. And
so you used your hands a lot.
well, I've not, like some of you, I don't have magical abilities. Some of us have to actually use our hands. You know, I don't have a problem with it. I've never been jealous of magic users. I kind of like getting in there with my hands, wrapping myself hands around things, feeling how it feels.
Are you careful with where you put those hands, lad?
Well, I mean, I don't
Because
just
it would be an awfully big shame if you were to lose a few fingers.
Well, I mean, I've had a couple of close calls when I helped out at the lumber mill, but other than that, I'm usually very careful about where I put my hands.
Drown sort of leans
at this
to,
point, like he gets the mug back. Oh, go ahead.
Drown sort of leans to whoever's nearby him and is like, Talmud is acting incredibly strange.
Talmud's being a protective father type person.
Huh.
At this point, like he's gotten the tankard back, and he just kind of takes a very long sip, and you can kind of see the color kind of starting to drain away from his face a little bit. He's not quite as red. The veins in his temples aren't flaring quite as hard. And he sets the tankard back down carefully. You know the woman known as Yesha, I believe.
Yeah. Her and I were working together quite a lot today.
I'm going to stop you right there. You need to be very careful, lad.
I am very careful. I mean, we had a close call when I showed her my ass, but
he like puts his hand on the back of like the nape of his neck and kind of like leans a little hard on him. If you do anything to hurt that girl, I will bury you in this snow out here, and no one will ever find you.
Okay.
You see this hammer? He pulls Gerta off of his back and sets it down on the table.
Yes, sir. That's a very nice hammer.
Aye. My cousin, Thorgarn, crafted this with the help of Moradin. This is Gerta Brelne. Don't ever forget it. If you go over to the cairn just outside of town, you'll see what's left of a tree But this thing fell with lightning. Imagine what it could do to you.
Right. Okay. So, Mr. Mr. Talmud, have I done something to offend you?
Maybe not as careful with your hands as you ought to be.
I'm afraid
There was
I
a
don't
mention
catch
of
your
a
meaning.
Smack. You mentioned a smack when I walked up.
Yeah, that was the new burrow that I got that helps pull the sleds. Besides the dog, I bought it off of a traveler from Turlemagne, the the nearby town. They don't.
I've made a terrible mistake. Let me buy you a drink.
I mean,
He
it's a
kind of,
good.
calls.
I mean, if you really want to see it, it's a really nice ass.
No, that's fine. He kind of puts his hammer back on his back. You know what? Have two. He's gonna order 2 drinks and slide them over to the guy, and then he's gonna finish his.
He seems unduly upset about that donkey.
Do we need to have a conversation, Drown? Like, really?
As you walk away from him, Talmud, he just sort of leans into Danae. What the heck did I do? I thought I was helping. And you just catch her words as she says, in the short time you've known her, you've never seen her to smile. She always has this kind of dour look on her face. But she watches after Talmud. Maybe even Talmud doesn't see this, but of course Cantriel sees everything. Danae has a smile as she leans into Ravos and just says, you might want to choose your words a little wiser. Not everybody knows what you're talking about all the time. You blather on to me most nights, and I don't even know what the hell you're talking about most of the time. And he just watches after and very gladly seems slightly put off, but a little put at ease by the now 2 tankards of ale in front of him. One of which he downs very quickly.
Thank you so much, Jake.
That was fun. Anybody else?
So we can get into it later, but as Fig and Thorgarn are talking about the Chardalin, another form begins to take shape once we have some time and the ability to figure out how to actually work this.
All right. Drown, Cantriel.
Cantriel would be explaining the conversation to Drown.
So it doesn't actually take very long. He is not he's not completely ignorant of these things. He just doesn't pick up on things like innuendo or nuance at all. So he was taking all of that very literally. As soon as you make that connection, he just kind of,
yes. Yes. So that's what's happening.
He
thought one thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. He thought he was betting Yesha. I understand now.
You get right to the point, don't you?
Drown is never one to put too fine a point.
He just kind of looks at her like, yes.
Maybe next time you should be the one conversing with him then instead of Talmud. Just an idea. Might save us some time. Although it, was quite hilarious to watch play out.
It is very amusing in hindsight.
You have a sense of humor?
Yes. He says completely deadpan.
Of course.
Theoretically, he says.
In theory, ...
And because of an improvised conversation in a bar, that is why there is now a single donkey in Lonelywood. I love it.
Can it be an awakened ass?
Only time will tell.
No, because then
Then it's a smart ass.
It's the real BBEG of this group. It's the awakened ass, the smart ass of Icewind Dale.
that adventure needs to exist now.
All right. So, you all eventually find your way to the place currently known as Ramshackle. And you find that the hearths have been heated. The place has been brought up to a temperature that's almost uncomfortably warm, but you notice that the fuel that's in the fire will not last long, and that it was a deliberate overheating to get you through the night. Night will pass rather uneventfully in your own home. You will get very restful sleep here. So you can all go ahead and take a long rest. Not that anybody took too much damage in the recent encounter. Jordan's back giving out more subs on her birthday. Morning comes and it is quite cold. All of you, when you awaken from under blankets in the various rooms that you've claimed at least for the evening, there are several rooms in the upstairs, this being an inn. But you can see your breath easily. Nimsy has brought over and has waiting for you downstairs some leftovers from the day before, some meats, and other things that will travel well, biscuits and bread and things, making sure you have plenty to take with you. It is still snowing quite heavily. It looks like this is going to be probably an 8 to 10 hour journey at the very least, along the road. Is there anything you want to do special to prepare, or do you want to just take your dog sleds and hit the road?
Yeah, I don't think Drown needs to do anything special.
You've all got cold weather gear now, various jackets, and you have snowshoes in your possession and ice picks, and you've got your dog sleds. So traveling shouldn't be too bad. Though visibility is difficult, because of the heavy snow, you follow the route outside of there we go. Outside of Lonelywood, you're told that the first town that you will come to is Tourmaline. And that you'll basically follow along around the outskirts of the lake, and outside of Tourmaline, south of there, that the road will take you up on a nice bluff. You'll head towards Targos, and then have to track back in towards Bryn Shander As long as you stick to the road, there should be sign markers along the way marking off the road, but you're already finding it very difficult. I'm going to need somebody to make me periodic survival checks as you begin guiding the way through. You are not in the forested area anymore, so this does not count as favored terrain. So whether that's your ranger or somebody else, somebody needs to make a survival check. Because of the heavy snow, your survival checks will be done with disadvantage.
I have a 5. I don't know if anybody, if anyone's got better, if we want to.
Drown's got a 3. He will offer
I have a
help.
4.
I literally have a 0.
You have a nope.
Yeah, Fake's just along for the ride. He's just having a good time.
Can we work together to negate the disadvantage?
I will allow it since you're all going to work together.
Excellent. Let's go this one. Ooh. That's a 24.
All right. You find your way to Tourmaline without too much trouble.
Had that been at disadvantage, that would have been a 9.
That would
Big
not
difference.
have been as good. Navigating several pages here. Multiple tabs of Beyond open. One moment. Okay, so you are passing through Tourmaline. If you stick to the main road on the way through, you'll just see houses very similar to just a lot more, very similar to what you saw in Lonelywood. With the heavy snow, there's not a lot of people out. So you're able to just kind of trek through. It has a very very quiet look. At times it seems like it could be a much smaller town, if not for the fact that it takes you 3 times as long to get through this town as it did Lonelywood. But eventually you emerge on the other side and then you're on the road to Targos. I will need another survival check out here on the other side of Targos.
All right, I'm going to use a domain die because that was a 2. That's better. That's a 21.
You're finding a couple times that it's not so much that the road winds close to this cliff, but that it's very easy to drift with this heavy snow. But you see in between the swirling snow, you're able to catch where there's a drop off and steer everybody back in. So that's going to get you part of the way. That's 2. So you're about 4 hours into your trek. I will need another survival check.
That would be another 21, sir.
You are proceeding very cautiously and safely along. Every time you think you might have lost the road, you see where the signposts, which seem to be made up of stacked rocks, and then probably in the more recent time within the last couple years since this Rime set in, somebody has attached tall timbers to these rock piles and attached pennants to make them stick up above the snow. And just when you think you're not going to be able to find one, suddenly you see one ahead of you. All right, go ahead and make me another one as you approach Targos.
That's going to be a domain die. Because that was a natural 1. That's a 19.
All right. I got to make a change to the domain die real quick. All right. There we go. You have been keeping pretty close eye on where this road is and have noticed that you're beginning to curve around to the west a bit. On your left-hand side, you can see large hills, almost mountains of snow. And you know you're coming around the south side of this lake. Though looking out to the right, whenever it does let up a little bit, you do not see water. You only see ice. This side of the lake appears to be completely frozen over. Somebody roll me a d20, please.
It's a 10.
You rolled a 10?
Yeah, on a d20.
Okay.
You said to roll it, Jake.
Yep.
Should I roll again?
No.
No?
Who's driving the sleds? I assume
Probably
Fig's driving one of
Fig.
them.
Yeah.
Who's driving the other sled?
Talmud,
Talmud.
apparently.
I need both of you to make animal handling checks as your dogs begin to suddenly start
And-
barking furiously.
That is why Drown is not driving one of the sleds.
Oh, guess what I have in that?
-1?
No, a 0.
I'm going to use a domain die.
Okay, that's better.
And isn't it a good thing, Talmud, that you spent all that time, getting used to these wolves and practicing with them like Fig did?
Are you giving me sass? Is that sass? That's cousin sass. I recognize that.
So, how did those checks go for you?
12.
8.
8?
Oh, yay.
I rolled 8 twice.
Okay, so the first question is, is anybody else on the sleds?
Not anymore.
Was anybody riding the sleds, or were you running
Probably,
alongside?
right?
Okay.
Are they reasonably faster than us walking? I would think they are, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to double check.
So yeah.
The dogs begin barking wildly. Fig and Talmud, you try to control them as suddenly, Fig, your sled cuts hard to the left, right in front of where Talmud's had suddenly taken on a surge. And Talmud, your feet slip off and your feet are now dragging in the snow. In an instant, both teams of dogs are entangled. Fig, your sled crashes into the one that Talmud is driving. And in this tumble and crash, both sleds go sideways and all of you are sent sprawling into the snow. You see in front of you the heavy snow is falling. You're not sure what it is that has caused this reaction from the dogs. And in that moment of the dogs are sort of yelping, more out of fear than pain, because they're just all tangled up. And they're sort of yipping and nipping at each other. you're all cast into the snow and you're pulling yourself, trying to right yourself and figure out what the heck happened. Everybody's got snow in their face and their hair. And as you're pulling yourself, trying to right yourself, above the barking of the dogs, you hear, and the ground shakes. It sounds and feels as if a piece of mountain just crashed into the ground in front of you. You hear from the curtain of snow that is falling in front of you, "They are here. I smell them. Do you sense them, Melthrond?" And as the snow suddenly blows to the side in a big whirl, you see a massive, ancient white dragon in the road before you. And that is where we are ending tonight's session. So that survival check you got a 19 on, the DC was 20. And on a failed check, I had somebody roll on the wilderness encounter chart, and good old V rolled Arviatris.
I can't get away from her.
Nope.
She and I are like this.
Well, it's a good thing that we had a long rest, and now Character Brielne can.
That's why I was like,
Yes,
okay, you guys are on the road almost to Targos. All right. I love this game.
So I imagine that, Talmud will be doing another super critical next time.
Oh, we'll see what happens.
Maybe. It's a mystery.
She is a dragon, and we do have two dragons.
Well, we'll see what happens, as for those who don't know, Arviatris has been on their radar for a very little bit. So we'll see how this plays out. I think I'm going to call next week's session The Affairs of the Dragon. I have an infrequent series of games I've run called The Affairs of Dragons, where I let players play as dragons. I know some people here have gotten to do that. So that will be next week's session, will be called The Affairs of the Dragon, and we'll see what happens. So be sure to tune in next week for that. Thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. We appreciate all of the love. And I gotta check something while we're
while you're checking that out, I'll steal for a moment. If you guys want to check out V, Jake, and myself on the Untraditionally Arcane tomorrow night over on the Nerdarchy Live channel, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for episode 2. Come hang out with us and stay nerdy.
Yeah, that is going to be awesome, getting back together again with that group. I'm playing a Beardomancer. So we've got that. I will be over on D&D Jordan Lee's channel on Saturday at 4 p.m. I'm running a Dungeons and Dragons game for some folks over there as part of Jordan's birthday celebration, doing fundraising for Color of Change all weekend. In fact, in just a few moments here, stick around. We are going to raid D&D Jordan's channel. I don't see her on the channel, but they've got a group of people running a D&D game on there as part of their fundraising efforts. So we're going to send you over there in just a few moments. Looks like they are at $731 of their $1,000 goal. So stick around for that raid. And of course, you can also check out tomorrow night is the final episode here on MTD, is the final episode of Friday Night Takeover. Connor, the other half of Dice on Ice is going to be running a game of Cryfoth. I know Dwight, the Big Bearded Nerd, is playing in that. I assume M is probably playing in that as one of the creators of Cryfoth. So you want to check that out. And then we've got a lot of our regular games coming up next week, including our All That Glitters on Monday with M and I in that, along with the Big Bearded Nerd, Jordan, and our friend Ricky. On Tuesday, I'll be over on Dice on Ice RPG here on Twitch in our continuing Curse of Strahd with M as the DM. And on Wednesday, Jeremy, what's coming up on Wednesday?
So my campaign that was supposed to start 2 weeks ago had to be delayed because of the weather here in Texas. But I'm going to have power this week. God, I'm going to knock on some wood. And so now we're actually going to be kicking off with our Session 0 for a brand new campaign, a mini campaign here on Mini Terrain Domain. So that's takes place in a setting that I created, a homebrew world that is a tidally locked planet that orbits a trinary star system. One side is continually desert and daylight. The other side is always frozen and continually night. And yeah, it's going to be 5 players playing 10 different 10 characters. So one on each side of the world. And M is playing in that, as well as some other fantastic people. So I'm very, very excited to be kicking that game off, especially since it was delayed. I can't wait.
Awesome. And of course, next Thursday, we'll be back here for Session 12 of Dawnbringers, Rime of the Frostmaiden. As always, as I've already said, thank you to everybody who tuned in. And even if you're lurking silently, just listening along, not even in chat, whatever, it doesn't matter. We appreciate you all the same. And of course, a final thank you, as always, to Dan, V, M, Ted, and Jeremy, without whom it would just be me talking to myself for 3 hours. We're going to end this channel, and we're not going to end the channel.
End the channel?
No.
Dude.
But when we end,
Don't push the button.
I'm going to do a...
No, push the button.
I'm going to do a raid, so don't forget that. Stick around for the raid. When the raid hits over on Jordan's channel, the battle cry is happy birthday and spam whatever emote you got. So we're going to go ahead and end the stream the same way we end every stream. And you can say it with me if you want.
Bye-bye.
Mandible.